It should be crystal clear by now that the Republican Party will never waver when it comes to their utter and supine devotion to the gun lobby. It should also come as no surprise that the vast majority of them line their pockets with money from the NRA while actively ignoring the majority of Americans, licensed gun owners included, who want them to do something, anything, to help protect American families and children from the scourge of gun violence. Dare to talk about slavery or LGBTQ people's existence, or ask that students and teachers mask up to avoid a pandemic, and they'll just rush out of law claiming to protect the kids. So fast your head will spin. Ask them to keep your kids safe from guns, and you get crickets. Well, yesterday, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer decided to put their apathy in the face of carnage to the test. Hours after the devastating shooting in Texas, Schumer took steps to force votes in the coming days on legislation that would strengthen background checks. Now, don't get too excited. The last time they tried this, Democrats couldn't find 10 Republicans with a spine to support that kind of legislation. And without 60 votes, Democrats only have one option: nuke the filibuster. Enter Senators Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who refuse to get rid of it. Why not now? Even with all these innocent victims, you ask? Well, the senior senator from Arizona told reporters, quote, "I don't think that D.C. solutions are realistic here." Well, what in the name of God is she talking about? It's her actual job to work in Washington, D.C. and deliver D.C. solutions to the people. Mark Kelly, her fellow Arizona senator, whose wife Gabby Giffords was shot in the head and survived, had a more succinct and astute take.
Well, like I said, it's nuts to do nothing about this.
And you know what? He's right. But the real question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you fed up with their perpetual inaction? Are you fed up enough to do what it takes to finally fire these people? Have you had enough yet? Joining me now, Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. So we know what's going to happen, Senator. Thank you for being here. There's been failure after failure. Thank you. There's been failure after failure after failure. We can just put it up on the screen after Columbine, after Sandy Hook, after San Bernardino, after Orlando. The Senate has tried. They're not going to be able to do it. So then, what does this vote mean, and then what happens?
Well, what this vote means is the people are on record, and that's a worthy thing to do. But at the end of the day, the reason Republicans are willing to be put on record voting against sensible gun laws that will protect children from being massacred in their schools is because of the power of the NRA. And at some point, we've got to go after the tools of the power of the NRA. And dark money, huge anonymous donations, including some stuff that smells a little bit like it came from Russia, have been the funding source of the NRA. They've taken in $100 million in dark money in the last decade, and a lot of it goes right out into Republican elective contests. So Republicans are loyal. For that money, they will just come straight to heel and do as they're instructed by their NRA masters. And we can have these continued moments of outrage, or we can make a persistent effort to make sure that the dark money tools of the NRA are taken away from them and from other groups that are ruining our democracy with secret, anonymous political spending.
Should we, on the side, which is the 90% of Americans want there to be some gun reform to protect our kids from being slaughtered in school, should we use the Republicans' tactic? Should people just start suing the NRA when their families die of gun violence? Should they start suing gun sellers? Should they start? The Supreme Court has said they're for the whole lawsuit strategy of enforcing the law.
Yeah, as you know, the New York Attorney General clobbered the NRA with a civil lawsuit alleging fraud and going after all the mischief and self-dealing by their corrupt management. So that can be proven to work. And then there was a terrific lawsuit brought against that creepy commentator who pretended that the shooting of the school children in Sandy Hook had been a prop, had been a fake, and that the parents who'd lost their children were actors and it wasn't real, or they were participants in a conspiracy. And now he's trying to figure out how to get into bankruptcy to hide his assets because he lost, because he lied. So yeah, litigation is a beautiful thing, and courts give people a chance, where in Congress, they don't have a chance because of dark money influence.
Do you agree with me that we essentially, if Democrats had 11 more senators, you could pass gun reform, right? Isn't the Occam's razor answer to replace 11 Republicans with 11 Democrats, which would negate Manchin and Sinema?
Yep, you change that and everything changes. Frankly, we probably only need about 4 or 5.
There you go.
Because I think we could find a way around the filibuster. You don't have to undo the filibuster to find ways around the filibuster and prevent Mitch McConnell from using it as a tool of minority special interest rule.
Yeah.
So yes, you could solve that problem if we had 4 or 5 more Democrats. You don't have to do 11.
You heard it here. You need 4 or 5, everybody. Replace 4 or 5 of those Republican senators, and you could have the things that you want. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, thank you, sir. Really appreciate it. We'll be back after this.
Thank you, Joy.
Cheers.